And NIB, Maria, where are you? There we go. Thank you so much again for your sponsorship here in New South Wales. We do appreciate your support. I'm going to pass to you to the Sonia Ganji, who's standing at the back smiling. Sonia is the New South Wales leader of our Women in Business chapter. She will give you a little bit of an update on what's happening there and introduce you to Tracy, our guest speakers tonight. But thank you everyone for coming along. It's supposed to be fun, so we'll have speeches, but then we'll get together and network, so I hope your business cards are ready. One final point of administration, we do have a lucky door prize. So if you haven't put your business card in, what's that word? In the bowl? That thing? If you haven't put your business card in the bowl, please do, because we'll be drawing that at the end of the night. Okay, thanks, Sonia.
Thank you, Carly. It was absolutely incredible to hear you on that panel with Tara Moss, and what you do means a lot to women in business, but also to men, because from your introduction, which I am about to read, because I think it is very, very important, you are a journalist, you're a writer, you're a speaker, you're a motivator, you're a TED talker, and you've had 1.2 million people visit your TED Talk, and you have 2 kids who I have met, and they're absolutely gorgeous. 30 years in the career, Tracy, you have reported, anchored for National News, Current Affairs, ABC TV, Network 10, Channel 9 and Sky News. I like this line though, I love this. Renowned for the courage of her convictions, passion for social justice, and commitment to equality. And the last one, ladies and gentlemen, I strongly agree with, is she has a wicked sense of humour, and you will hear that very shortly. Now, her book, which she launched, which is The Good Girl Strip Bare, is a must-read. And Tracy, I believe you're selling that today, so you will get a signed copy if you buy that today. But may I please very warmly welcome you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. It is an absolute honour to have someone like you in our midst for the Aibc New South Wales Women in Business and End of Year celebration. Thank you. Please make her feel welcome.
A round of applause for Sonia. She's amazing. For those of you who have seen my TEDx talk, I promise I'm not going to be ripping my gear off tonight. I will explain that joke later on for those who haven't. My book, The Good Girl Stripped Bare, is a little bit about my career challenges and how I've overcome structural discrimination in the workplace, how women are forging forward in society more broadly. I'll talk a little bit about some of my own experiences that I recount in the book, and then I'll go on to a few things that we can all do to come together to effect change. I like to call it my revolution speech. I hope that some of the anecdotes that I share, might resonate with you, because I think by sharing stories, we are more powerful together. I'm a big fan of the sisterhood. I grew up in a very low socioeconomic area on the outskirts of Brisbane, and when you grow up in a place like that, there aren't that many role models around. So when I saw Yarn Event on the television, then I got a job at a radio station in Brisbane. But I almost lost my job a week after I started. I was struck by imposter syndrome. Who here knows that they experience imposter syndrome? Hands up, come on, let's see the hands. It predominantly does affect women more than men. I also had that intersection with class. When I got the opportunity to read my first news bulletin, I thought, what am I doing here, the bogan chick from Deadcliff, reading a news bulletin? When I experience imposter syndrome, one of 2 things happen. I either giggle or I faint. More on the latter later. At the end of every news bulletin, we have a story that's called The Kicker. That's the funny story. It's the panda bear in a tutu. It's the dog doing something funny. It's the cat running up the screen door. We might tell you about the most horrific stuff in the world, but we want to leave you with a smile on your face. The kicker of this particular bulletin, my very first radio news bulletin as the only woman in the newsroom, was about the Darwin Awards for stupidity. The man who'd won the award that year had a budgie with a broken leg. He fixed the budgie's broken leg with a splint made of a match with the red bit pointing down. You can just imagine the budgie scratched on the bottom of the cage, self-immolated. I'm so glad some people laughed at that. I have a particularly dark sense of humour. I'm not an animal hater. I don't have dead beasts in my basement. But that combined with imposter syndrome started me giggling, which started me laughing, which started me doing that double back laughing over the microphone. They had to drag me out of the booth. Fortunately, my boss gave me another chance and I didn't get charged by the RSPCA. But it taught me a valuable lesson that I was going to have to get over my imposter syndrome. I was going to have to fake it until I made it, because I just didn't have the confidence within myself. I then got a job down south at 3AW. Was anyone here from Queensland, actually? Yeah, Queenslanders! Sorry, my husband laughs at me about how many women were injured and killed during that time, but we weren't highlighting this important issue. After working at 3AW for about a year and seeing far too many dead bodies as police reporter, I was seduced by the bright lights of television in country Victoria, a place called Traralgon in Gippsland. And that was where I experienced my first overt workplace sexism. Prior to that, I've got a very open-minded father. I'd worked with some lovely blokes in radio in Brisbane. I'd never actually seen sexism in the workplace, but boy, I experienced it in television. I worked there for about a year. Oh, actually no, there was another incident before that. I'd done a documentary on the plague of white asbestos in the Loy Yang power station. I like investigative journalism. But the comment that was given to me the day after the documentary aired was not about how good the story was. We had these intercoms that connected us with other regional stations, and someone said over the intercom, "How's that chubby girl from Queensland going?" And I thought, how fantastic, there's another girl from Queensland here, maybe we'll be friends. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I'm the chubby girl from Queensland. That's when I realised that size 12 on television was considered to be huge at that time. The other anecdote from that era is I spoke to my boss at the end of my tenure there after about a year. You know, in the country you do everything. I was official cow, sheep, police, court, industrial reporter. It was a tremendous training ground. But I was ready to go to the city. I was ready to take the next step. I wanted to be like my hero, Jan Event. So I said, do you think I can ever make it like my hero, Jan Event? He said, oh, Trace, you're a good bird, so I'll give it to you straight. You'll never make it in the city. You're blonde and people think blondes are stupid. So I dyed my hair red. Who would have thought at $2 nationally until 4 years ago in the UK, the BBC commissioned this research. And they found that the audience wants to see themselves. The audience wants to see cultural diversity, age diversity, ethnic diversity, race diversity, appearance diversity, ability diversity. And because they're not seeing it, they're turning away from the mainstream media. The reason why we were expected to look like Barbie dolls is simply the fact that the executives at the time hadn't done any research or training on what the audience wanted. They just hired women who they thought were attractive. And it's not working for the business to prosper. Thank you for listening.
Would it be possible for you to give us a roundup of what is happening in Aibc? Because what normally happens is we come to the events, but we don't really get to understand the full length and breadth of what Aibc does. So I'm going to take a quick few minutes to just give you a quick wrap up of the year 2017 that was. And Tracy, something which is really interesting is about a week ago, I had addressed the Ad News conference, which was about reframing Australia, speaking about the new audiences who have come in Australia. What does it mean for marketers? And our keynote speaker actually said, there's so much of diversity in the streets, but where do they disappear when we look at our television commercials and media? So thank you for taking up the cause for diversity, which is also equally important and dear to our hearts. So just very quickly, let me give you a quick wrap up in terms of what Aibc has been up to over the past year, 2017. Our year started with an excellent delegation, which was the Vibrant Gujarat delegation, which went to Gujarat. We had around 45 delegates. It was led by a national vice chair. I was also there, but part of the Australia-India Council delegation, but we were there. We had an absolutely amazing delegation where the Chief Minister spent a lot of time along with his trade and investment officials, one-on-one in a boardroom with the Aibc members, understanding each member got the opportunity to share what they wanted to do, what they had come to in India for, and his team made copious notes. And let me tell you, I've been in touch with a lot of those delegates. They've actually started doing business, and it's really good. So people often ask me, if we become AIBC members, what do we get? So you can see what you get. I also represented the Bengal Global Business Summit, and it represented Australia and spoke about Australian opportunities that are available to Indian businesses. And I have to say, out of that global summit, we've actually got half a dozen partnerships which have happened over the period of time. So what AIBC does is keeps a tab of what is happening and how these partnerships are also going. Outside of this, we have almost a dozen inbound delegations that have come in, which included the Australia-India Chamber of Commerce, and that's a delegation that we host across pretty much every state. We had a couple of conferences which AIBC partnered with, which included a very successful mining conference which was held in Mackay, Queensland, and attended by several business luminaries, not just from Australia but also India. We also collaborated with a whole lot of international forums, which includes the Global Trade Review's Australia Trade Forum in 2017, which was held in the Sofitel in May. And that was, besides that, the IMARC, which has just finished in November, and where we had Mr. Sanjeev Gupta there too, is one of the new ones who's just come in as a savior into this country, as all of you would know. And AIBC was a partner to that conference, and we had business roundtables, and it actually was quite successful. We are also partnered with the mining NASMA for the Mining Exploration and Trade Show, which happened in New Delhi in September. In 2018, we've already signed off a partnership with IMAC for the Mining and Monies Asia Conference, which is going to happen in Hong Kong. And again, we'll have AIBC members who are interested, would definitely be going there. I have to say we had a very good year because we had two great elections, one in Western Australia and the other one is in New South Wales. I'm really proud to share that Kylie Bell, who's also the Director of Oceania of EY, is actually a state president of NSW. And Omesh, partner of Deloitte, is taken over as the state president of Western Australia. And both of them lead some really high-powered team of business women and women leaders in their corporations. So congratulations to them. The annual addresses, which is a signature event, has happened across every state, and the keynote addresses were provided by the High Commissioners as well as the premiers of the particular states, New South Wales and Victoria, as well as federal ministers. And I think we were very, very happy to note that despite all the issues happening with CICA and the slowing down of FTA, there was an absolute commitment on the table from the premiers who committed that they want to deepen this engagement, this bilateral business relationship, and actually travel to India. And interestingly, all of them requested AIBC to support them in terms of their planning, which we are doing and in the process of doing so. And any support that we can then for these trips, we would be very happily doing so. For AIBC and for me and for our board of directors, something which we really value is the fact that we need to build up the young generation. We need to build up our next generation leaders. And in that context, we actually launched the AIBC Young Business Leaders chapter. And we already have 3 of our committee members. I'm not sure whether Rubal is here or not, but I know that, can you guys just stand up quickly? Folks, yes, Gurnam is there. And yes, Rakhi, you are there. I can't see the other two, but we have the chapter which has just launched, is going to be led by Rubal from PwC. And this is going to be a national chapter, and there'll be committee members across every state, and they'll be really undertaking a lot of initiatives. This chapter joins the Women in Business, which is a national chapter, the Mining and Energy. In planning, early first quarter of 2018, we have the launch of a couple more chapters, but prior to that, let me share, the sports chapter has also launched. Primarily because people think, oh, it's sports, how we related to it, but we are. from sports education to sports talent to sports nutrition. There's so many things that there are opportunities to collaborate with India. And so we will be, this sports chapter will be working hard. Some more industry verticals that we are setting up is the health chapter, which will get launched. There's going to be an education chapter, there's going to be a digital chapter, and already dialogue and discussions have begun with the people who will be leading them along with the committee members. So there's a lot to look forward to. I have with us our Chairman Emeritus Neville Roach, and Neville, once I was chatting to you, and something which you shared was again in turn communicated with the board by me, and we decided I think it's a great idea because everyone comes to AIBC with certain expectations, and we want to make sure that we actually meet those expectations. So we're going to start an SME chapter, and we're going to start a corporate chapter. So what happens is these chapters will explicitly have initiatives which would interest those profile members. So these are some of the plans for 2018. AIBC has been doing a lot of work on the policy and advocacy area, which includes, providing a white paper, which we contributed for the Australian government's foreign policy white paper, which is being launched tomorrow. So a lot of it, you will find a lot of our suggestions hopefully has been taken. But what is important is the AIBC board of directors, including myself, have actually been invited for a series of business roundtables where we were able to sit down with government influencers, ministers, and tell them what is it that we need to do, how do we position this bilateral relationship and take it forward. And I'm sure we'll find a lot of that in the white paper which gets released tomorrow in Canberra. While SICA and FTA have slowed down, my feeling and my experience has been that this year has been a very active year. People have been coming, people have been going to India, businesses have been wanting to understand what more can we do, and there has been a lot of engagement. And I'm sure the trade figures will gradually show that it started creeping up. And I have to say that the government's appointment of Mr. Peter Varghese, who's a former foreign secretary, to lead the India engagement strategy has been a fantastic initiative. And AIBC has been very grateful because we have been invited for these roundtables with Mr. Varghese, and I also happen to sit into the strategy engagement reference group that has been set up, which he's leading. So AIBC will continue to play a strong role even in terms of policy shaping. To us, the Australian government, they're present here, as well as the Indian government. They are very strong stakeholders, very important stakeholders for us, as is businesses, as is our members. These are our 4 stakeholders for whom we exist. And yet I do want to also share that all of us are volunteers. None of us get paid here, by the way. So, as you can see, when there is a voluntary work involved, what does it mean? It means passion. It means that those people will go over and above to do things. So please reach out to us if you feel there is any way that we can help you. Let me now come to women in business. Now, when we started Women in Business, and I know Dipin and myself had this breakfast on the cafe, ground floor cafe of the DFAT building. We had gone up for a DFAT meeting, if you remember. And he turned around and told me, so what would be your vision for WIP? And I was pretty clear. I said 50-50. And he said, what does that mean? I said, 50% of all new businesses that get started in this bilateral space should either be led by a woman or owned by a woman. That's a vision for women in business. And I know we're still yet to get there, but we will persevere. And Tracy, thank you so much for joining us, because when we have people, inspirational leaders like you, who come in, who are so real, and it's just so inspiring. I mean, I was just standing there and tweeting all those fantastic quotes you were, it's fantastic. Thank you so much, and it's not just about young people. All of us, the day we stop learning, we are finished. Even me, I'm standing there and I'm learning things that I never heard before. I think somebody came and told me, I said, oh, that's something new I learned today. That's my learning for the day. I think it's a good thing to do that. Every day, let's pick up something that we have learned new. Keeps our brains alive, keeps us going. But that's very much for me today. I would like to end by saying AIBC cannot hold these events had it not been for our generous sponsors like Kylie Bell from EY, who has Yes, Barbara, I can see you. We can't miss you with your pink jacket or Heidi with her red jacket. But yes, we have some amazing sponsors like Heidi, EY. We have Gunjan and Malini here from CBA. We have been, who have been with us for 3 years now. And I'm sure going to be there for the next 30 years. Remember, we've just completed 30. So that's Gunjan's commitment. We have from Melbourne, Australian Super, we've got Nick Braden and Megan Lamb. Thank you so much for coming in. And again, we're very, very pleased because coming to, and Nick, Maria, where are you? Yes, Maria, thank you so much. I know Kylie had a health issue, so she couldn't make it. But again, Nib is a great partner for us. And at the end of the day, you guys will get a lot because this is the diaspora, which is rapidly growing. And this is a diaspora which has the maximum number of professionals and the maximum number of businesses also, along with my friends from the Chinese community. And thank you so much for coming in. We have a very high-powered group of women in business leaders from the Chinese community. Thank you for coming in. They just launched, do you want to just wave your hand?
We just launched Pink Elite, which is a multicultural woman-based, and we want to like here as you and energize and connect the lady together.
There we go. And again, the whole idea with Aibc is we like to collaborate and work together, and that is what we stand for. And that's all for me today. And I would really like to end by first thanking Kylie, our state president, who does an amazing job. She is so busy, but she is always on top of everything. We've got our vice president who's not here, but I'd like to thank Sonia, the chair of the New South Wales WIP, and also the committee members here who are present. I can see Naina. I don't know, is there any other committee members if you can stand up?
Barbara's here, Danielle's
Barbara's, of course, you're Danielle. Yeah, come
Danielle's
on, what are you hiding there for? Here are some amazing women. Danielle, can I speak about you? Her vision is 1 million sweaters to be knitted by, how many? 88,000 women, right? 40,000 women. And she has an amazing operation in India. And she's shifted her operations from here, and she has done backward integration where she is not merely producing these, she designs them, but she's actually, can I call you a social entrepreneur? Because she's changed the lives of the women. So there's no bashing up of women allowed. Women call the shots there. And she is even now chatting to me and to a few banks where we can have ATMs in villages where they can actually go and draw their money and they're fully in control. So imagine what our women in business team are doing. We've got Barbara there. Where's Barbara? She's the CEO of Nutrition Australia, and she gives me these dark looks. You have to get to shape. I swear to God, that's my promise in 2018. I will not let you down. And she's also the CEO of SAN. She sits on a whole couple of boards, but that's not it. It's about making a difference to ordinary lives and to people's lives. That's what it is. We've got Naina there. Naina, if you can share, wave your hand. She's one of the committee members also, and she's in the finance sector. There's a whole lot of great work in financial planning. And Sonia, of course, everybody knows you. I don't need to introduce you. Sonia Gandhi, she's got her Gandhi Creations, an amazing marketing event management company, and huge into this diaspora. So that's all for me, and I think we've got a lucky
Does anyone
draw.
want to put in last minute? There's champagne involved, so and food and chocolate. So
Now, while she is collecting the cards, I really want you guys to have a look. And Tracy has very kindly agreed. Tracy, will you sign the books? The people who buy them. It's just $30, guys. So it's just $30, and if I were you, I would pick up 3 each to gift it to my friends over Christmas. But anyway, Tracy has promised that she's going to sign these books for you. So please, it's at the back. And before we do that, and before we start networking again,
Shiva, can I ask you to draw? The gift has actually been donated tonight by ABS Conveyancing. He was not able to join us. I think the thought of so many women scared him away. But he's actually in Melbourne Melbourne today on business, so he's kindly donated the gift pack, which includes champagne. And the winner is, I haven't got my glasses on, Vineet Singh.
Vinny?
Ladies and gentlemen, come to Women's Event.
You're the winner. So as you can see, very, very fair women in business group.
I didn't expect that at all.
No one ever expects to win.
Thank you.
Yeah, you get
And that's lovely.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Appreciate it.
That's all right. Lovely crackers. Things for Christmas lunch.
Everybody's welcome to take a part.
It's for you, Christmas. And that kind of, Sonia, is there anything else? Yes, there is, absolutely. How can I forget that? That's the most important one. Thank you so much, Tracy. Can I request you to come up, and Kylie, if you could also come up so that we could present this to her. Sonia, would you mind please coming up too? I'd like you to come up too. Come along, Sonia.
Something small for you, Tracy.
Ends the formal proceedings, but it's networking, it's looking at the book, and it's getting to and chatting to Tracy about what the book is about. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Christmas. Happy New Year. Hopefully I'll see some of you before that, but I'm sure. And thank you to all the men. I cannot thank you enough. I completely agree that when we have a Women in Business events, and Con, you've been from the very first event, right? So Silvana and Con. We've always had a lot of men, around 30%. So my objective now, next one is 50-50. 50 women and 50 men. Thank you, everyone.